Now, back in 2010, during the recession, the Work and Pensions Secretary, Ian Duncan Smith, suggested that people living in Merthyr Tydfil, who were struggling to find work, should take the bus to Cardiff. Today, the think tank that he founded, the Centre for Social Justice, is suggesting that the government help the long-term unemployed to move to towns if they've been offered a job. Well, in a moment, we'll speak to the current head of the Centre for Social Justice. But first, our social affairs correspondent, Michael Buchanan, took up Mr Duncan Smith's challenge and took the bus from Merthyr.
Morning. Single to Cardiff, please.
£8.20, please.
This is the X4 service, the 7:15 from Merthyr Tydfil to Cardiff. Expected journey time about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Are you heading to Cardiff?
Yeah.
Got a job?
Yeah. Retail assistant in Fremont.
Was it difficult to get a job?
Well, it was online. We had over 3,000 applicants, and they interviewed then 1,400 for 231 jobs. So.
You're one of the lucky ones?
Yes, yeah.
And did you look for a job in Merthyr?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Difficult. Very difficult.
Nothing doing?
Nothing. So you have to get on the bus and travel to go out of town.
The idea from the Centre for Social Justice is that someone has been unemployed for more than a year and then gets a job offer that involves a commute of 90 minutes one way should be able to apply to a scheme to help them move to the town where the job is. The help would be in the form of removal costs, hiring a van and that sort of thing. And crucially, they say this should be up to people to choose themselves. There should be no compulsion to make people move. And they suggest that the government pilot the idea in areas of high unemployment, perhaps like Merthyr.
I think if it was the right area moving to, then I'm young enough to be able to start again in a new place. So I would definitely take advantage of moving to Cardiff.
You're probably at that age where you maybe even be keen to move to Cardiff.
Since I've started work, I've thought about it.
What's stopping you at the moment?
The fact that you've got to have money behind you to be able to do it.
That's us now on the outskirts of Cardiff, and we're stuck in traffic. What are you listening to?
Ian Brown at the moment.
Ian Brown?
Yeah.
Caught up with the World Cup scores already, have you?
No, bloody hell. People that come from Merthyr are very family orientated, and it would mean cutting a lot of ties off at the time, ties that they need, and I don't think that would be a sensible option for them. I noticed on the radio yesterday that they plan to build 40,000 houses in Cardiff over the next number of years, so it's not just a case of the jobs being there, but the suitable accommodation got to be there as well, isn't it?
The other question about the scheme, of course, is what would happen to towns like Merthyr that might be left behind as people moved on to get a job.
If there was an exodus of people into city centres and suburbs of cities, then the valley towns would die, wouldn't they?
Well, the town is slowly, I wouldn't say dying, but it's certainly dwindling because a lot of the big industry is gone. So, I mean, even more people leaving is going to just make things worse.
That was quite a quick commute, actually. An hour after leaving Merthyr, I've got Cardiff Castle on my right-hand side, and I can see the corner of the Millennium Stadium as well. We've arrived in the city centre. Thanks very much, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Michael Buchanan on the bus from Merthyr to Cardiff there. Well, Christian Guy runs the Centre for Social Justice, as I say, set up by Ian Duncan Smith originally, but Christian Guy is the director now. Good morning to you.
Morning, Evan.
So this basic principle is that if there are jobs in place A and people in place B, you've got to get the people to the jobs rather than vice versa.
I think for those who want to move and to have that opportunity to move, we can do more to help them. I suppose for towns that have been hit hard by deindustrialisation and have never really recovered, there are two things to do. One is to try and improve those areas, get jobs, create jobs in those areas, improve those towns. But secondly, if people do want to move further afield, are we doing enough to help them? And that's the question we're asking today.
You're assuming people have to move. I mean, one solution to this, so you don't have to, if you like, build so many houses in Cardiff to accommodate the people moving there from Merthyr under your scheme, will be faster transport links. It's not that far, is it? It's a half-an-hour drive on a normal day, according to to the map programs, navigation programs. It should be possible to commute, shouldn't it?
You're right, and we've just heard Michael, of course, on the bus.
70 minutes.
Yes, it's a long way, but I think for some people they find that the transport links just aren't there. So yes, you're right, we've got to improve transport links, but if you're wanting to move further afield, you might want to move to a different region or a different part of the country, then of course you may not be able to journey that in one morning and one evening. So for people who were looking further afield, then maybe help with relocation costs might be an answer.
Right. The slight problem with this is, of course, that you do have areas already where the economies are strong and where there's a shortage of housing, and you have other areas where the economies perhaps aren't so strong, and there are lots of places where people can live, and matching up the two is going to be the problem, isn't it?
It is, and this would be dependent on someone being offered a job and there being housing available in the next place. But this is why you've got to do both. I think you have to look at some good work by Hasseltine, which I think has cross-party support in principle, on improving areas that were hit hard decades ago and getting more housing, more opportunities into those areas so that we don't just write those areas off. They don't just become sink neighbourhoods. That would be a tragedy and a waste of people living there. But where there are opportunities, that might be part of a natural dynamic economy where people do follow those jobs and those opportunities.
I haven't read the whole of your report, Christian, but do you use the phrase getting on your bike? Because, of course, this is just the 2010s version of the 1980s slogan, isn't it?
No, I can promise you, Evan, we don't tell anyone to get on anything. This is about people who want to move. But I think there's an interesting point there that has become toxic, that phrase, politically, but behind it is something that's worth exploring. We don't want any of the patronising language that gets thrown in, but people do travel long distances for work all the time. We've heard on the radio there's somebody travelling an hour and 15 minutes to get to work. So however we can help people look further afield and get further afield, if they feel the opportunities are there, we should do that. But I don't think it's helpful to tell anyone to get on anything.
All right. Christian Guy from the Centre for Social Justice, thanks very much.
Thank you.